Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in yet again. Another powerful transmission of truth with no compromise lined up here in the next 3 hours. It is already Wednesday, the 5th day of February, 2014. We are scheduled to be here for the next 3 hours live. Man, where to begin? The horror stories of cancer patients being turned away, little kids being kicked off their insurance, pre-existing conditions not being covered, workers getting their hours cut, people losing their jobs over Obamacare, Obama blaming it on the states. I've got a big stack of the ongoing chronicle that is Obamacare we're going to be breaking down, and the fact that the very same scammers that run the Democratic Party and control much of the Republican leadership are still acting like it's a great deal and it's weird to not like Obamacare, and are trying to sell us the amnesty plan. That if you like what Obamacare is doing, you are going to LOVE, 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 love. It's not just legalizing the illegals that are here, who I'm not demonizing individually. On average, they're hardworking, good people, in my experience, on average. There's also a large criminal element because everybody from Latin America, mainly, that's running from, quote, justice, comes up here as well, so there's that big problem. But it doesn't matter. It's going to bring in another 30 million after that, and these people think the Democrats who give them welfare and all this to their buddies, they will vote to overthrow the country completely. And we're on the razor's edge of being able to turn back the globalist offensive. And that's why they're trying to get their entire agenda through right now. So we're going to be breaking all of that down and some of Obama's latest activities. Obama's climate hubs. I read the entire executive order establishing the Rural Affairs Commission 4 years ago that Homeland Security and the Pentagon jointly sit on the top of the organizational chart. In fact, will you guys print me the Rural Affairs Commission and Bureau that Obama set up, the executive order, and some articles about it, because I want to be able to show folks that. And Homeland Security and the Department of Defense, Northcom, are over that. And I told you they're going to set up local spy bases in every city that are basically like farming threat fusion centers that, quote, will track environmental threats. And they're going to literally have their local Politico minions, commissars. Already Nature Conservancy, Sierra Club, and others have these, because I've experienced it with our ranch and with the local ranches in East Texas. And they'll send them in to identify things, to harass people, call in the EPA on farmers, you name it. Remember they tried to ban hay dust 4 years ago? They tried to ban 2 years ago children being able to do chores on the farm. This is the rural spy CIA, NSA grid on record with drones. And so Watson, I was talking to Watson this morning. He was like, what do you think I ought to write about? Usually Watson comes up with his own research. But a lot of times, you know, I call up and give him ideas. And so I probably need to call Watson up. I said, I don't know what you should write about. I mean, there's so much going on. You could write about all the latest Obamacare stuff. We don't want to get Obamacare fatigue and just let them win and stop exposing how horrible it is. But now I realize we need to integrate in and talk about this, because it's an article about Obama launches climate hubs. That's what it's called. To help farmers and communities. And, of course, Obamacare is meant to help you, too. And shutting down all the power plants is meant to help you as well. Now, the goal is to bankrupt you and make you dependent, and they are targeting the country boy that can survive, as I've told you. In all the Pentagon drills, they train to literally machine gun people that look like your grandpa wearing John Deere hats. Kind of like buck fever. Folks, you take deer hunting for the first time, will shoot a neighboring cow, or will shoot the first deer they see, even though it doesn't have antlers, or will shoot another person. That's what I've seen in a lot of these cop videos, where sometimes they'll just pull a gun out for no reason, not just a taser, and just shoot someone. And then, of course, try to grab all the surveillance tape, but then later surveillance tape will get leaked, or somebody's hiding in the bushes videotaping it. There's been so many cases of that, like the famous case with the DART subways and train stations out in San Francisco, where they hear there's a fight on the bus, on the train, Nobody had been involved in a fight, it turned out. They grab the wrong group of people, put the guy in handcuffs, take a gun out, shoot him right in the back. Bullet goes through, bounces off the concrete, right back into his heart. So he got shot twice by the same bullet. And they go and grab everybody's cameras on tape, but somebody's in a train hiding, and the train pulls out and gets it all on tape. They filed the report saying he tried to take the gun from the officers. They had to take him out. And none of the cops got in trouble for lying. The cop that did the killing ended up getting 2 years in jail and served less than a year for just absolutely cold-bloodedly executing that man. And, of course, in the case of the homeless man that they beat to death, the son of a police officer, then got caught lying about that, they've now been found not guilty because the police said he might have had a pre-existing heart condition. That's right, having his head and throat and legs and kidneys and everything stomped and beat in by 8 police officers had nothing to do with it. There are so many cases of that. There are just so many examples of this. It truly and absolutely boggles the mind on every front that these type of things are unfolding. And it shows the militarization of police that is getting more and more serious by the minute. Now, here is the Washington Post. Speaking of this, and then I'm going to shift gears into other news and then get back into this in the next hour with the lawyer who's going to be in studio with us. But the Washington Post, scenes from a militarized America, Iowa family terrorized. And the Washington Post says we're in danger. Militarized police trained for the drug war are now being used for reported credit card fraud, where it turned out the people were innocent. And they come in the house and break their surveillance cameras and assault them, basically. And it's these images that really do terrorize the public. But they are meant to terrorize the public. They wear the black mask, the balaclava, all of it, for intimidation and for the projection of power. The problem with all of this is that the government, the criminal elements of the government, on record, ship in the majority of the narcotics. The big banks publicly launder almost all of the drug money, and police will tell you we're not allowed to investigate them. They are above the law. Now, obviously, the drug culture is where criminals already gravitate to, so there's a lot of bad people in it, and a lot of criminals in it, because we've given them this black market. So I'm not endorsing the drug culture by any stretch of the imagination. I absolutely abhor it. My issue here is that they have now arrested a whole bunch of people in a raid on the actor Hoffman's death from heroin, a particularly strong type known as the Ace of Spades. They give these things brand names. And Hoffman reportedly was found dead, never even got the needle out of his arm. Philip Seymour Hoffman, a very talented actor who struggled with substance abuse. And so they've now raided the house, the apartment building, they believe, where they were selling the heroin. Our Marines and Army, on record, grow and protect the majority of the poppy fields in Afghanistan. And if you look at the BBC's own numbers, in the 11 years, it's now 12 years, but the first 11 years of the liberation from the Taliban, yeah, right, the totally staged war, they only arrested a few Taliban groups that had actually been pro-America and exposed al-Qaeda and had tried to turn bin Laden over in the year before and were aware of what was happening. That actually came out in the foreign press, by the way. And then they basically, you know, the fake war they had was real al-Qaeda with proxy 14-year-old, 15-year-old conscripts in dugouts out front of the major cities that then our military was told to target. And so it was all a simulated fake war. And U.S. Special Forces colonels went public in the San Francisco Chronicle and talked about this, the airlift of evil, all of it. And so you fast forward over the next 11 years, I'm just giving you numbers from a year ago, over the next 11 years, now it's 12, 13 years, and the production is up 11 to 12-fold. It was 10-fold within 5 years, and then 11-fold, then 12-fold. For a short period, it went to 13-fold, and then now it's back down to 11-fold, the numbers we saw in 2012. So you've got an 11-fold increase in opium. Less than 7% of world opium supply in 2001 was coming out of Afghanistan. It is now 93%. In fact, guys, just show people, 93% of world opium that's turned into heroin, it's purified and concentrated into heroin, 93% of world opium is cultivated under the loving NATO eyes and then loaded on C-130s and shipped in to Russia, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. The Pentagon flies it in to southern Serbia, now under al-Qaeda control, the KLA, and then it's distributed out through Europe from there. And Russia has complained about this. It's been devastating Russia. It's been used as a weapon system against Russia. And so they're going to go bust who they allegedly say sold the heroin. Probably did. They look like a bunch of scum to me, classic heroin heads, people that would sell this type of poison to people. But they're selling hillbilly heroin to everybody for decades. You know, take Oxycontin, take hydrocodone, all that garbage. But, I mean, there's the voice of Russia. U.S. NATO protecting opium in Afghanistan. We just showed you a New York Times article saying the same thing. Guys, if you put in Afghanistan, 93% of world opium production, you'll get an AP article from 2 years ago. The point is they went from 7% to 93% of world opium production, and that's 12, 13 times. There it is. U.S. expects record poppy crop in Afghanistan. And it said it soared to over 93% of world production. There you go. Boom, 93%. And I was saying from 2001, it was less than 7. They use a number in USA Today from 2006 that it was 34% of world production. Yeah, it went from 7% or less to 34% in 5 years. And then after that, it jumped up to 93%. Okay? Now, let's just get this straight. You understand what I'm saying here? They are shipping it into our country, and then people are mainlining this stuff. There is a heroin epidemic. People think it's so cool. Let me tell young people something. Do not ever, ever take heroin. I've taken heroin one time, and not via a needle, when I was 15 at a party, a beer party, you know, where 2 beers would get us drunk or whatever, and parents are out of town, you know, you have friends come over, and somebody put a heroin pill in a beer and didn't tell me. And, folks, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. I guess they call that slipping somebody a Mickey. They're like, oh, we did it because we're your friends. And these were like 18-year-olds doing this, and they gave a couple of, and I had like nightmares while I was awake, like Edgar Allan Poe, who was on heroin. I laid there in the dark 5 hours into it, just praying for it to end. And then for 2 days, I felt like the worst hangover of my life. I mean, I just absolutely felt like total crap. It literally destroys your soul. And so there you go. Just young people, never use the trash. Exercise, get in shape. Don't do drugs, folks. But don't do drugs. You know, the system says don't do drugs to sell it to you, the idea of taking them. Don't use it. Don't give your money to the big banks. That's how you fight the New World Order. Don't use any of it. We'll be back with huge UN news. The sad death of Philip Seymour Hoffman, and they've had this raid. It's like when the TSA wants to search me and ask me questions and ask where I'm going when they know full well who I am. I'm their public enemy #1 on record, along with Matt Drudge and a few others. And the government is running al-Qaeda and the Taliban on record in Egypt, Syria, areas of Eastern Europe, Serbia. It's mainstream news that our government is arming al-Qaeda so much they were able to retake large parts of western Iraq all the way into western central Iraq in Fallujah. There's battles going on every day for a month with tens of thousands of infantry troops, the Iraqi military, trying to battle al-Qaeda with weapons NATO gave them. I mean, that's in the news, just dryly being reported. It is absolutely mind-blowing for me. And then I've got to go fly and be treated like I'm a suspect, which is absolutely ridiculous. And they've already done a background check. They know I don't have a criminal record. They know I'm a media person. I mean, it's like checking the diaper of the 5-month-old Alec Baldwin daughter. And they knew who he was and who his baby was. And I've seen it with other celebrities, Jesse Ventura and others that I've flown with. You name it, where when somebody's a celebrity, the other cases I'm not at liberty to talk about, they get messed with more at the airport. There was a study out last month, actually, in January, that celebrities get worse service a lot of times and actually harassed. It's true. All these people in the system mess with them. But I'm digressing. The criminal elements of the government are publicly using al-Qaeda to take over different countries and destabilize things and have an excuse to be in the Middle East and weapons sales. And then we're all suspects when the government is publicly arming them. I mean, if you give money to a charity and you don't even know that that charity is giving money to a designated terror group, you're talking 25 to 40 years in prison. Look up the federal statutes. In fact, under the NDAA, they could just disappear you. It's even worse than those statutes. Look it up. But then they're aiding and abetting them publicly. And that's just like the opium that's processed into heroin. 93% of world production pouring out of Afghanistan from 7% when the West took it over. There's heroin deaths and ODs just everywhere. Heroin this, heroin that. I mean, I haven't seen heroin needles on the ground in my life, except when I visited New Orleans when I was a kid, or New York City. Now I'm on the hike and bike trail, I see heroin needles, ladies and gentlemen, in Austin, Texas, laying around everywhere. This is disgusting. And then, oh, don't worry, the police have busted the retail alleged dealers in this guy's death, and literally the #1 progenitors and producers and distributors and sellers and money launderers are the big banks, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, brokerage banks, you name it, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Wachovia. They're all on record laundering tens of billions of dollars apiece a year on record. On record. And there's not even an investigation. I guess Wachovia, Wells Fargo, in a 2-year program had to pay a $111 million fine 2 years ago for $387 billion over the 2-year period of laundered money. That's Bloomberg reporting that. Just type in $287 billion, laundered drug money, Wells Fargo, you'll get Bloomberg. Okay. Oh, but don't worry. Don't worry. There's the Bloomberg headline. Banks financing Mexico gangs admitted in Wells Fargo deal. And I guess the first fine was $111 million. They paid 40-something more million. So it was $160 million in the final equation that they paid on hundreds of billions. Oh, look. The number went up. I'm sorry, there's two numbers. It's $420 billion. Not 378. Do you really think a local crack house is laundering that money? No, ladies and gentlemen. So this is why I pull up to some DWI checkpoint. It's really a drug checkpoint. They ask if there's any drugs in the car. I'm just like, knock it off, man. Come on. The cops are out there taking people's money, an asset forfeiture seizure with no drugs being found. I mean, give me a break. Anyways, I'm done talking about that. We have huge news on the UN, Agenda 21, and Obama launching a takeover of the farms straight ahead. And the police ran up and tasered him in the head. He fell over and hit his head. He's been in a coma. And the police are now saying in Bastrop, they are now saying outside Austin, and that's coming up in the next hour, get this, that, he might have already had a brain problem before. Just like the Kelly Thomas case. Oh, he must have had a heart problem before. It's not that we beat his head in and beat his windpipe in. It's just so crazy that they've militarized the police to this point, and a lot of cops try to defend it. It's going to give all the police a bad name. I mean, nobody wants militarized police. We want peace officers that if a bad guy really tries to do something, you got tough guys that deal with them. But not just any excuse to attack the public because you want to carry out some violence and it's so much fun. I mean, back when I was a teenager, I liked people starting fights with me, and I like to get in fights. But now, even though I have that side of me, I'm not out looking for fights just because once a fight starts, I like beating the hell out of people. I'm not a sadist. It's just that somebody starts a fight with me, once it starts, I enjoy it. I mean, I'm sorry. That's a normal, natural human side of people. I mean, I enjoy somebody taking a swing at me and then punching them upside the head and watching them hit the ground. And I can't help that. That's a normal instinct. But it's not to just walk up to some kid and taser him in the back, or some lady says, I want to see the radar gun. It's It's totally cowardly. So that's coming up. You want police that have a warrior instinct, but to actually fight bad guys, not turn it loose on kids and families and warrantless SWAT raids over drugs in the middle of the night when the government ships in almost all the drugs as an excuse to take over the society, and they keep drugs illegal to keep the price high, just like Jesse Ventura talked about with us a couple days ago on Monday. And we've got that video we're going to play later. Steve Watson wrote about it yesterday. The Washington Post is now covering it as well and did a video report on it. Cop SWAT team innocent family destroy evidence. There's another video up on Infowars.com of British police grabbing a citizen journalist and framing them, not knowing the camera's still rolling, saying they're going to frame them. It's like that Luke Radowski video where the literal goons, like out of Goodfellas for Larry Silverstein, come up and say, shut up, no free speech, we don't care if you're permitted, and then order the cops to go, that camera is the gun. Hey, the camera is a gun. Throw him in the hole 30 days. Doesn't matter, you're not a terrorist. We're going to frame you. The cops go, yeah, we'll frame him. They take the camera and then, I mean, that's all on video in my film, Truth Rising. They frame him on video and say, we're going to frame you. And they go, look, we got a gun right here. Sounds like a Looney Tunes voice, like Mel Blanc or something. You know the gangsters talk in Looney Tunes commercials? Or old Looney Tunes. Hey, boss, hey, look at him over here. What are we going to do to him? Yeah, we got badges and guns now. What's he going to do about it? So that's coming up. Now, shifting gears out of that, ladies and gentlemen, this is really huge news. This is the UN takeover of 90% of America, the rural areas. And this is what it's been set up to do. This is what the United Nations has done in third world countries, in Burma, in Central Africa, in Latin America, in just all over the world. They come in, and it's part of a receivership, and this is going to tie into these articles that I have today. Greece starts putting islands up for sale to save economy. Remember that from 3 years ago in 2010? Greece starts putting island land up for sale to save economy. Of course, it didn't save it, made it worse, and it was giving the land to the very hedge fund managers that had set Greece up. And that ties into this new Economist article out today, the $9 trillion sale. Government should launch a new wave of privatizations, this time centered on property. That's right, federal and state lands to be given to the very central banks that ran the whole scam. This is what they've done in third world countries. They're now going to do it to us. It's already begun in Europe. But to do that, you've got to go back to the 1993 maps that shot down the full adoption of Agenda 21 Rio de Janeiro treaty that George Herbert Walker Bush had tried to get when he left office in 1993. And Dr. Michael Kaufman and others got the UN maps and blew them up to be able to show Congress and C-SPAN. And anybody can simply search Dr. Michael Kaufman biodiversity maps, or you can simply search UN Agenda 21 U.S. maps, and you'll see half of the United States. It's a big U.S. map showing half the country in red where you have the biosphere reserves, and showing how people won't be allowed into those areas. That's why they're kicking people off the BLM. Yes, you found it. That's it, Nico. It's the red map right there in front of you. That's why all of this is going on. And if you click on the larger maps, you can see it. You can see their simulated biosphere reserves from 1993. All the areas in red, no human use. Yellow, highly controlled use. Green, human use. They've got other colors for normal use, military use, Indian reservations. But you can see half the country, roughly, in red, no human activity, no one even allowed into it. This is the rewilding. But they have to do this to get the land off use so they can then turn around and give it to the globalist for mining, timber, whatever they want. But to do that, they've got to pass laws, regulations to shut down family farms, to shut down beef production, to only allow big pharma-controlled, big agri to operate. That's what all these laws and all these regulations are for. That's the program. And we had an article about it back in 2011, Executive Order 13,575, theft of rural and agricultural lands for UN Agenda 21. And it goes through the whole executive order, the trade representatives, all the documents, all their plans, and who runs it under the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Defense. And under that, under State, Defense, and Homeland, then Treasury, Transportation, Health and Human Services, U.S. Trade Representatives, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, that's for spying on them with the satellites and drones, and the U.S. Agency for International Development. Now, under this, they say, and I cover this in my film from 1997, America Destroyed by Design. Go watch that film. It's free online, or you can buy the DVD, InfoWarsStore.com, and support us and have a hard copy. But the point is, they said then that they had to get the land off use for a few decades, and then they would take it as receivership on the national debt, which isn't even really our debt. They've signed us on to the trillions of derivatives that aren't our debt. So there's that article. Here is some of the other articles that tie into this. Center for Rural Affairs, White House Rural Council, role and impact. The reason I'm going over this is there's a big new development that I'm going to cover here in just one moment. Then you can read the executive order at whitehouse.gov itself and see that for yourself, how the Pentagon is going to set up these spy hubs, these threat fusion centers over the rural affairs to spy on everyone, to infiltrate local media, as the Pentagon said they do 4 months ago, to bring in federal funds to buy off the local leadership and to make people think it's a good deal to waive their rights to sign on to the premises ID, the animal ID, all of it. Here's the Blaze from 2011, breaking it down. Does new White House Rural Council equal UN Agenda 21? Absolutely. Now, I have covered that. Here is the new article out of The Hill today. Obama launches climate hubs to help farmers and communities. And, of course, there's a disgusting video of him announcing this as well. The Obama administration will announce the establishment of regional hubs, all that farm money, folks, focused on mitigating climate change on Wednesday. The hubs are the first ever regional centers. This is why they're going to surveil you, the green police, for your own good. With the drones, with the satellites, with NASA, the hubs are the first ever regional centers that will focus solely on risk adaptation and climate change solutions at 7 locations across the country, then setting up sub-offices through the 14 other federal agencies headed up by the Department of Defense. Dubbed climate hubs, the new centers will address issues like increasing risk of fires, because they won't let you cut areas to protect with fire breaks, invasive pests, devastating floods, crippling droughts. The officials said the centers will aim to translate science and research into usable information for farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners to adjust their resource management. Oh, doesn't that sound nice? This is literally the civilian force just as big and just as strong as our military. In fact, it's only 14 seconds. Can you guys pull up Obama calls for domestic security force? We need a civilian force just as big, just as strong as our military. And this is how they're rolling it out. The threat fusion centers on record, spy on the Tea Party gun owners, integrate all the illegal NSA data, grab all the open intelligence and integrate it in. And now they're rolling out the rural affairs offices with Homeland Security, armored vehicles, you name it, spy grids. They tell local farmers, oh, come to a meeting to fight terror. And you get to the 2-day meetings at the hotels, and they spend 15 minutes on an Al-Qaeda video showing them doing training drills, and they switch to, is your neighbor growing marijuana? Do they spank their kids? Are they cutting trees they're not authorized to? Did you know you can get environmental money for spying on your neighbors? I mean, we've sent people to these. We've covered these. We've gone over this. Derry Brownfield, the late syndicated host on this network, covered it all with his Rural Affairs show, 1 hour every day. This is ultra massive. So, again, they start cutting off the resources, only giving the big subsidies to big agri. Beef production's plummeting to the lowest level in modern history. Family farms are shutting down everywhere because they have computers. Ranchers have never gotten lower prices for their beef. And then the meat packers have put all the little guys out of business with regulations that they're all exempt from. They can be as dirty as they want, radiate the beef, you name it. And then they fix it all at the big three meat packer level, tens of billions a month in profit, to where record beef prices when you go buy beef, but the farmer doesn't get almost anything. It is so important to go to these local co-ops and things where people own their own beef. 10 people own a cow with a farmer. They slaughter it. You get it all fresh, what you want fresh, frozen, what you want frozen. You can't get better beef. And you've got to go to the extra trouble to do that, folks. I'm telling myself this as well. I'm bad about going to the store and, buying supposedly organic beef or whatever. The totally jacked up prices. You can go right to a farmer, get it at half the price or less, and it's much better. But you've got to go the extra mile to do it, and then it will create markets in your area. That's why they're trying to shut down all the lemonade stands, shut down the bake sales, shut down any little farmers markets. That's why, because they know that's the resistance. This is a total military takeover. This is siege. It's a Soviet model. They're not actual Soviets running it. It's not actual communists running it. They use communism as the management model. What did Mao do when he got control? Forced all the farmers to come off the land. First, he put for 5 years spy grids, rural affairs offices in, got all the spies in place. Then they said, we're collectivizing you, and it killed 80 million plus people. Cultural revolution, great leap forward. What did Lenin do in Ukraine and other areas in Poland? They killed a good 30 mil at gunpoint, but also at the point of just turning off all the food and not letting people produce. This is how it works, ladies and gentlemen. And then you're totally broken, you're totally destroyed. This is the plan. You've absolutely got to start growing gardens in the spring. You've absolutely, just to promote that culture and to talk about it in your backyard, in your front yard, you've absolutely got to put chickens in your backyard, just even a couple of them, as an act of resistance and a way to talk to your neighbors. Every major city allows you, because of grandfathered laws, to have fowl. Because until just the 50s, pretty much everybody had a couple chickens, even on rooftops, eating the extra food that you would normally put in the garbage disposal or throw in the trash for a landfill. You've got to bring that back because they're trying to now pass laws to ban it. They want you under their full control. They want to control the food. This is the oldest form of control. When the Romans would first capture an area in Gaul or in Germania or in the Rus areas or in other areas, in Israel, the first thing they would do when they reconquered Israel was basically ban anyone owning their own farms and running them. They'd put Romans over it and control it. This is ancient, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going under. We could supply the whole world with food until about 1979. We could supply the entire world its food from the 40s on through the 70s. And before that, we produced about half the world's food. 4% of the world's population, we could feed the planet. Now, America is importing, last time I checked, 40% of its food. That's what the subsidies were about, was controlling markets, saying don't produce, so they could get you used to that. Before, we'd have food coming out our ears, ladies and gentlemen, and farmers made more money. And you're like, but if they produce more food, how do they make more money? Because it was more diverse, it was more local, there were different chains of supply, there was less middlemen. But not anymore. In fact, now all over the place, people would just stop on the side of the highway all over the country and sell produce they'd grown. They're sending out the code enforcers to shut that down. In fact, I've seen Austin's code enforcers on 360 stopping people. One day I was late. I pulled over, found it was happening. My iPhone wasn't charged, didn't get it on video, was late, didn't get it, but I'm going to get it. In fact, but I saw them harassing people for selling firewood on the side of the road. And it's just, when you see that, it is such an assault on humanity. I cannot describe it enough to you. But Obama is launching another spy grid domestically. These people are not your friends. Here is Obama calling for his domestic security force.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded.
And again, they've done this in country after country where the people running our nation have put in authoritarian regimes as well. They have gone and shut down the rural population's food production. So, bottom line, by the way, we have the InfoWars Seed Center, I should add, with the lowest prices on non-GMO, open-pollinated heirloom seeds, from fruit trees to you name it. We've got 8 different companies, the best companies out there at the lowest price, InfoWarsStore.com. Great time now as a New Year's resolution to buy your seeds and prepare to start planting in the spring and to talk to your neighbors about planting as well. This is a revolution. None of us are perfect, but we've got to try to go to the farmers markets. We've got to try to buy from local producers. I buy milk from an Amish group, Mennonite group, really, outside of San Antonio. Best milk ever. Totally raw. Lasts like twice as long. It's like a nature's vaccine. Just so amazing. There's a lot of different groups. I mean, that's and this is happening, and it threatens the system. That's why I buy from southern Mexico in the high mountains the high-quality Chiapas farmer-grown directly from their co-op, volcanic soil-grown, Wake Up America blend immune support. I've been drinking this for 15 years, similar types that are hard to get. Now we have a source directly down there to the major co-op, and so they get almost all the money. When I buy the raw beans, take them up to Colorado, have them roasted, packaged, and then shipped out to you. 2 different Wake Up America blends. And why are the Chiapans the only Mexicans that haven't been dominated in 50-plus years of the government trying to take their property and force them up to Mexico City like all the other slaves in Mexico? Because they are farmers and they have old guns, many of them 80 years old or more, and they're willing to kill people for their property. And because of that, even though I don't agree with their politics, it doesn't matter. They've got guts, and guts is enough. I buy coffee directly from them. And they send in armored vehicles. They send in thousands of Mexican troops to attack them on a routine basis, to the point of the Mexican government's made a truce with them and pulled out of most areas of Chiapas because they won't back off. So you know what I do? I like the coffee. I love the coffee. Isn't it funny? The best coffee, to me, is the coffee from people that are willing to fight to the death for their land. That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. So I try to support them, and you support them as well when you buy this coffee. And I didn't mean to get off into a plug here. It's just that's what this is all about. Raymond Teague, the NASA scientist, a good friend of mine who died last year. So many great people died last year. My God. And my uncle, 3 days into this year. God, I can't believe he's gone. Such a good man. Such a loving person. Such an honorable person. Makes me want to be a better person just thinking about him. That's what good people are supposed to do, is challenge us to be like them. But Raymond, you know, he would always buy cows from local farmers, and he would butcher them himself. He was one of those guys that could skin a buck, run a trot line, and run the cameras on the space shuttle or the Skylab or on the moon. He said, we went to the moon. Raymond was my good friend. He wasn't a liar. He said there was secret technology involved. He couldn't talk about it. And he died before he told me everything. He almost told me more at a meeting with Jim Mars at a hotel, but he was like conditioned. He started choking up. He goes, I can't. I said I was going to tell you. I can't. I swore. But the whole point is that he's gone now. I'll never know. And then with Dr. Bob Bowman, former head of Star Wars, all he told me is they had a fleet of over 100 robot drones in orbit by 1979 with DU Shaybos that could decapitate and kill every major government, every leader in 1 hour. That was 1979. You think we're in Kansas anymore? Stay with us. Police state, in-depth investigation. The taser police, straight ahead. It makes me fundamentally angry, because I have a farming and ranching family, to know that every farmer and rancher I know, even if they've got big pieces of property and are hardworking, have to have 1 or 2 other jobs while farming full-time, working till midnight many nights of the week, just to be able to pay the property taxes and keep their property. 4 years ago, they got rid of the hobby farming exemption that almost everybody operated under, where your farm could lose money, but you could still operate it. So we actually lose money now keeping our little ranch. And then I see all the bull on the news about how Obama wants to help farmers and ranchers. It just makes me want to throw up. I know people that have owned, giant 12,000-acre ranches, you name it, that have gotten out of the cattle business because you cannot make money in it now. It's so rigged. It's so rigged. That's why cattle ranchers all over the country are throwing in the hat, throwing in the towel. See, I've got a lot of family works in medical management, so I know about that. I know Obamacare is a pure bull before it got passed. And I'm not smart. I know how stuff works, though. And I know what the Rural Affairs Commission is, a Pentagon globalist criminal takeover with local spies in our communities. These people are absolute enemies. These are commissars. You want to know what it was like to live in Ukraine under the Soviets? You're about to find out. And I'm getting the point, and I tell you, where these game wardens, you're doing nothing. Fishing on your own property, they show up, harass you, and they're there. We're on a federal grant, bugging their eyes out at you, trying to dominate you, trying to intimidate you, that you've done something wrong. And they're the vanguard of now the environmental cops and all the rest of it. It's time to get back in their face. Say, stop bugging your eyes out at me. We were out on Lake Austin wakeboarding, me and Shane Steiner, with our kids back in the fall when it was still warm enough, and there was nobody out there one day. I played hooky and took off, and it was like, we're out there from like noon to 5, and you usually see all hundreds of boats. We might have seen 6, 7 boats, and every boat was being pulled over and harassed. Everyone in a kayak was being pulled over and harassed. And these police, it was I guess the game wardens, pulled up bugging their eyes out at us. So I bugged my eyes out, stood on the back, stuck my chest out, started videotaping, and they smiled and drove off. And when they were, what's your problem? I was like, well, you're bugging your eyes out at me like you're looking for trouble. What the hell's your problem, you anti-American piece of crap? Move to North Korea if you want to act like that. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being treated like a slave. I'm tired of it. They're treating us all like prisoners, folks, getting us ready. And when we roll over and act like sheep to all these police and bureaucrats, it greases the skid for what they're doing. And again, I'm not even against the game wardens. You need them in a lot of areas. There's a lot of bad folks out there. The point is that your mission is not to harass and treat people like crud and go around messing with people who are not doing anything. But see, you're there to just generate revenue. You're told generate revenue or you're not going to have a job. No amount of revenue will ever feed this system. It's designed to implode. They'll take unlimited money and put it into a derivatives black hole to bankrupt the system. That's the goal. And don't sit there and say I'm wrong. This is an economic program of siege the globalists are carrying out. There we were, wakeboarding and going off the rope swings up and down the river. They call it Lake Austin, Ladybird Lake. They change the name every 5 years. The point is it's a dammed up Colorado River. And we're going up and down this thing. And I mean, I would drive by and look at the body language of these people. Just, you'd have a family out on kayaks. They'd go over and harass them. You'd have a, whatever. And I'm just tired of it. And I'm tired of rolling over to it. And I'm tired. I see the videos where people will be fishing on the Texas coast and they'll run over and yell at them and pull guns on them. And, that isn't how America used to operate. That's how Mexico operates. In fact, the police aren't even that rude in Mexico now. We're going to talk about all this, taser deaths, and so much more, and people that have been brain damaged by it straight ahead. We're going to have a lawyer in studio dealing with a case right here in the greater Austin metro area that's made national news. We're going to show you some exclusive photos here that the family has given us through their lawyer, attorney Adam Loewy, who is in studio with us, and he takes on a lot of these high-profile police shooting cases where they shoot people on the back, you name it, here in Central Texas. And it's not my job and my goal to just sit here and demonize police. When police do good things, we point it out. But I am sick of seeing police use too much force and then whitewash it. Because the latest thing is they're saying that this poor young man, De Rivera, might have already had a brain problem when there's no evidence of that. I mean, it is insane. And that reminds me of a lot of the other cases we've seen where they then claim heart trouble and things like that when they've obviously beaten someone's head in, like the Kelly Thomas case. And the jury bought that and said, doesn't matter, you beat him for 20 minutes and he crushed his larynx and beat his skull in and broke his nose and broke other bones and as he begged for daddy in a pool of blood. No, he might have had a heart problem. Maybe an Easter bunny, too, was involved. So really, really scary to know that the police will shoot you or taser you at the drop of a hat and kill you in many cases. And then the grand juries will no-bill it. Nothing will happen. If the police are above the law, we're in deep trouble. And they just had demonstrations last week out in Los Angeles about the Kelly Thomas verdict, finding the 2 police officers that looked like thugs out of Central Casting not guilty. The police then arrested the peaceful demonstration and laughed and said, we're above the law. We're going to beat your brains out, reportedly, when we get you to the police station, though they didn't do that. So it's really becoming a thug culture. Who have you known in your life that thinks they're above the law and gets on an arrogant power trip? It's happened to all of us in business, with employees, with bosses, with anybody. Some of you may have had a spouse that was like that. Well, imagine bad guys getting badges and guns with a corrupt government that wants an authoritarian, autocratic mindset and atmosphere, giving them the green light to do whatever they want. Remember in Miami where they shoot the woman with the rubber bullets and she's bleeding everywhere for no reason at a peaceful demonstration? And then the police chief says, great job shooting that woman in the face. And they all laugh about it. But if you shot the cop in the face with a rubber bullet, they'd kill you. And it'd be, our poor officer was shot and bloodied. Again, or don't blow bubbles at a peace demonstration, because if it touches me, I'm going to arrest you for detergent in my eye. They're important. You're not. When they shoot your dog, it's no big deal, including a Chihuahua or a Labrador. But then when a police dog gets killed, they have parades and shut down Houston. It's this idea that government's good, Congress is good, they're all above the law, the big bankers are tax exempt, but we the people, well, we have no rights. We're dirt. And so joining us to break all this down is his lawyer in this case out of Bastrop, Texas. And dovetailing in with all of this is the Washington Post today, reporting on the militarization of police and how scary and dangerous it is and the abuses. So even mainstream media and the normally establishment groveling Washington Post and Wall Street Journal and New York Times are saying this is a dangerous phenomenon. Folks, I would love to support the police, but the culture is becoming very dangerous and very gangsterish, very mob psychology under Homeland Security. It's happening worldwide, the militarization. And we all know the police are bad in North Korea. We all know the police are bad in Mexico. So people shouldn't act like it's weird for us to try to warn people about what's happening. Look at this young man, and we now have the video that the establishment, the public servants fought, the authorities fought to never release, of him doing nothing, standing there, contradicting the official story. We're going to play that video. If you're a TV viewer, most of your radio listeners, it's all posted up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com right now. But the attorney for Loewy de Rivera is with us. And, of course, that's Adam Loewy with the law firm, Loewy Law Firm, helping injured Texans. And we're talking about the tasing case of Loewy Nino de Rivera that happened back on November 20th, 2013. He's going to give us an update, tell us exactly what happened and where this is going. But again, this story, though a local story, is a microcosm that we hear about all over the nation of kids being tasered and falling down and becoming brain damaged or dying. This is an incredibly serious situation. Thank you for coming in today. I know you're busy.
Thanks, Alex. Good to be here.
Well, you've got the floor. Tell us what happened here and why this is so serious. And it seems like it's becoming an epidemic.
Well, it's one of the worst displays of excessive force I've seen in handling these cases for 10 years. What you have in this case is 2 young women, students in a high school hallway. They were about to get into a fight. Loewy broke up the fight. He was holding one of the young ladies back. You can see that clearly on the videotape we obtained. He calms down the fight. He does what we want our young men to do when they see a fight between 2 young women. Break it up. The fight is calmed down. Everything is just going according to plan in the hallway. People are walking back and forth. And then you see these 2 police officers walk up. They walk up behind him. Loewy is just standing there. They move him to the wall of the hallway. And in a matter of about 5 seconds, move him to the center of the hallway. This officer, Randy McMillan, has his taser out. He tases Loewy. Loewy clearly was not fighting them. He had no weapon. He was not being aggressive. Loewy gets tased, goes unconscious, and literally, and you can see it in the video, goes straight back and hits his head square on the concrete. He is rushed to an Austin hospital, and he is placed in a coma, a medically induced coma, for 52 days, almost 2 months. He was unconscious in a coma.
He had brain surgery?
He had 2 brain surgeries. And so it is the most horrific injury I have seen in 10 years of practicing personal law.
Or was it a serious subdermal hematoma?
Yes. Yes. And by the grace of God and the great medical care at this hospital, he pulled through it, but he is completely different. The road back is going to be a long one, as you know.
We have some photos of that we can put up on screen as well. We just showed the video.
Right. And so it's horrific. And what I find most disturbing is when these shootings occur or taserings occur, the government always comes out and they have a narrative. And in this case, it is no different. They said initially, no, he was fighting, and they were trying to control him.
Yeah, that's what I'm sick of is the lying. It's like the guy they have in the handcuffs in San Francisco who done nothing, and they kill him and then say he attacked them.
Right, and that's what happened here. And so as someone that handles these cases, I was just waiting. I knew there was a video. We had eyewitnesses saying, no, he was not fighting. But you never know until you see this video. And then you see the video, and you're like, wow, he was doing nothing wrong, and he got tased. And I think that it was horrific. I think it needs to be treated as a criminal act.
Well, watching the video, I was about to say, the police officer's in a stance of almost enjoyment when he does it, spreading his legs out, getting in a stance. So it doesn't look like it was an accident. And they've said it wasn't an accident, that he was basically being combative.
Right.
Which isn't true.
100% not true. And
his hands are at his side, they push him over, and they just taser him for fun.
And not only his hands were at his side, when you meet this young man, he is about 5'6", 140 pounds soaking wet. You have 2 grown adult police officers who are trained.
They look like big guys.
Big guys, especially his partner.
Really tough.
Why don't you just grab him? Why don't you grab him? Why are you tasering him? I mean, I will tell you myself, I could have grabbed this kid and held him. And that's where it gets into this issue of why are teenagers being tased in a high school hallway?
Well, they're using it for control. Police, they've had cases, as you know, where they taser you to make you answer questions or to give a urine sample. And judges say, no, you're allowed to torture, pain compliance. They call it pain compliance, where they break the abortion protesters' arms with nunchucks. You seen that video? Right. And the federal court said, no, that's pain compliance. So this is really what it is. All of America is becoming an Abu Ghraib.
But there is, without question, a militarization of the police force in the United States. And when you have these officers with tasers are very, very dangerous weapons. Let's be honest.
You're being an extremist. Why didn't they just kill him? Because, I mean, obviously, if you're going to taser him and have him try to kill him, why not just start executing people if their hat's on wrong?
Well, it's going to be curious to see what they say under oath about it. Because what can they say? Are they going to say we felt in danger? Are they going to say that we were being attacked? They can't say that. And so what you're hearing now is he disobeyed orders. What orders could he have possibly disobeyed in a span of 3 to 5 seconds that justified being tased like this? I think it's a horrific display of excessive force.
I want to skip this network break. This is so important. Art Aceveda, back in, I think it was like July of last year. I'm going to get him back on soon. He says he's coming in. He was on the local 590 with Sergeant Sam and those guys here on KLBJ, the station the president formerly owned. And he was openly saying, quote, and I'll never forget it, because they played it later on another show, quote, if a police officer gives you an order, even if it's a wrong order, you follow it and you won't get hurt. Well, they've had cops pull women over that drive out of topless bars and they demand oral sex. Should they do that? If a cop wants me to mow their lawn, should I do that? If they want to bust in my house without a warrant, should I let them? No. All the common law and the courts have said, no, you have a right to resist that. But here's this new doctrine where you see the deaf people all the time or the autistic, clearly autistic, being attacked because they didn't mind an order. You know, you walk behind a deaf person and say, halt, halt. They don't, so they shoot them or tase them. Or the Chinese guy in New York, you know, where they beat him up for jaywalking because they said stop and he didn't know what that meant behind him. I mean, it's this thing. You didn't follow my orders, so I'm going to kill you. How about we all just wear, like the Running Man, a necklace around us with a bomb where if we don't obey an order, they just detonate it and blows our head off.
I think that's a good point. I think that when you talk about constitutional rights and civil rights, it's real easy for people to say, oh, I like free speech. But where the rubber hits the road is really the Fourth Amendment. and that is the right to be free from excessive force. You are correct. We are not in a militarized country, or we should not be in a militarized country.
We are. We're in an occupied country, though.
Well, that's obviously up for debate.
But what do you say to Arde Saveda in the statement that do what you're told and you won't get hurt? I mean, that sounds like the creed of gangsters and dictators.
I think there's a big problem with certain members of law enforcement that feel that they are the judge, jury, and executioner. There's no question about that. I've seen that in police cases. I've seen cover-ups occur after these things have happened, and I think we're seeing this in this case. Why can't they just be honest and say they made a mistake here? They shouldn't have tased this young man. And I think the fact they won't even admit that, and they put out this nonsense that, oh, he had a prior head injury, is just indicative of a culture that they feel they cannot admit they do wrong.
And then it gets worse statistically. Less police are being killed statistically, but more people are dying at the hands of police because they're all training with instinctive shooting to just start shooting at the drop of a hat, and it's really scary. Now you have the state police doing proctology cavity searches on the side of the highways. I mean, the foreigners won't come here in major studies. We're losing $40 billion a year in tourism. USA Today reported a few years ago because people are scared to come here. Just like I won't go to Mexico because of the police, people won't come here now.
I think it's a much bigger problem than people are acknowledging, and it's very easy to sit back and say, oh, that's going to happen to someone else's child or someone else's husband. But this young man comes from a very good family. He has no criminal record. This was that other child, and that could be your child. And I think that it's very important that we talk about these issues and try to make this thing right.
Well, it's just amazing that it's gotten to this point. Break down more of the case, because I followed it on the news. I followed you on the news. And them not wanting to release the video at first and saying that he basically resisted them or attacked them. And then, of course, now the video shows they've lied. This is why the police are losing their credibility.
Well, I think that that's a good point. I think that what's interesting to me is right before the video came out, there was the head of a state police union named Kevin Lawrence that went on the local channel here and said, oh, I heard that Loewy had some headaches the week before. They started floating this out that he had a brain injury apparently a week before, as if a 17-year-old was wandering around with a brain bleed, and just coincidentally, the day he got tased and was rushed to the hospital, that has nothing to do with the tasing. It's a prior injury. That is obviously completely false. And again, watch the narrative in these cases. When they start talking about these phantom prior injuries or that he reached for a gun that he didn't have in other cases I've handled, that's when you know the police know they've done wrong.
Well, in the case of Kelly Thomas, I'm sure you followed that, just screaming for daddy, begging, and being tortured to death. It took him, 4 days to die in the hospital. And when you look at the photograph, the mugshot of these police officers, I mean, talk about just absolute thug central types. And then you look at the fact that the father of this guy was a retired police officer. He said they got away with murdering my son, and the mother of police is also saying basically the same thing. They claimed, oh, he might have had a heart condition before because his heart was so bruised from the beating and all the rest of it, and his rib cage being rammed in on it. And then they used that, and the jury cowardly, probably out of fear of the gangsters, then found them not guilty. I mean, that is such a disgraceful jury, and the culture of endorsing whatever the police do is absolutely going to empower our downfall.
And it's always ironic to me that our friends on the right wing are so anti-government. They don't like the government. They're anti-government, limited government. But yet, when the government kills someone, the reflexive reaction is, oh, they did the right thing there. We need to support whatever the police do. That's a paradox there. If you're skeptical of the government, you should be even more skeptical when they kill someone, or in this case, when they seriously hurt someone. And I think it's a real blind spot that most Americans have that must be addressed.
Well, exactly. But what it comes down to, policing is a tough job. I wouldn't want it. And they get burnout, they get PTSD, and it's the culture of, hey, we're going to make mistakes, so stop trying to put us in jail for it, or we can't do this job. And everybody gives the police more leeway, but it's now been abused, and they've now been federalized and globalized and militarized, and they're doing SWAT raids over, unreturned library books in Williamson County, literally. And so, that's not the case. It's been this entitlement, this empowerment. What do you think, as a guy that, gets a lot of these high-profile cases all over Texas, Where do you think this is going? Because clearly the public's turning against the police. That's just what the social engineers want, because then it's a us against them mentality. How do we reach out to police? How do we reverse this militarization and bring them back to being more honorable peace officers?
Well, I think that it's honestly shows like this. It's discussing this issue. It's having a discussion about it. And then it's really urging the elected officials, specifically district attorneys, to hold these people responsible when they do something like this. When you're looking at Austin, this district attorney here, Rosemary Lindbergh, has never indicted a police officer for killing someone. And I'm not even saying convict them. I'm saying indict them. Let a jury decide if this was a criminal act. When you look at these police shootings, and even in this case, we'll see what happens, but district attorneys will not indict these police officers. And what my point always is, let's put it in front of a criminal jury and let the jury decide. And if they issue not guilty, they issue not guilty. But it's the behind closed doors decisions that are very scary.
Well, there was a CIA section chief, I think his name was Carnival, or not, it was about 4 years ago, I forget his name. It'll pop in my head in a minute. In Houston, and they pull him over, they get him out of the car, he's got his hands at his side, and the cops execute him. It's all on chopper. And of course, that was a hit team. They were ordered to kill him. We know he was a real CIA guy. He'd gone rogue or something. They have that in bigger departments. They have federal hit teams. That's come out on record. They clearly execute him. There wasn't even an investigation. So my issue is, if the order comes down, I guess, to pull me over and kill me, it won't even matter if it's on video. I could get out naked with no weapon. They'll just say, oh, I had a lightsaber. You know, they'll say I had a particle beam. They'll say I had a bomb. It's this thing of on video, they're killing people, and they always get caught lying, even though they knew they were on video.
Right.
They said that De Rivera, basically resisted and attacked them. He's clearly standing there. He stops the fight. They direct him. He's totally calm. He turns around. They taser him.
Right.
I mean, this is so obvious, and it's the lying. I mean, if they'd have said, well, you know, we thought he was going to do something, so we tasered him, or I accidentally tasered him, or whatever. Or no, it's the lying and then the getting away with it. I mean, I hope they don't get away with it. What should happen? What are you asking for? What's going on with your lawsuit?
Well, we would like the district attorney in Bastrop, and we now have the U.S. attorney for the federal level. We are asking them to do a criminal investigation. And I feel, on behalf of the family, this was a criminal act. I think there should be an indictment.
The lying's a criminal act.
I think there's a lot of things that will come out once we get more into the lawsuit about what happened in the 24 hours after this happened. I am certain that the police tried to control the narrative with the help of the school district. And we will see, once we get these emails, once we get the communications, a lot of stuff went on of trying to sell people.
Isn't that a criminal conspiracy to obstruct justice and racketeering?
Without question, it's a deprivation of civil rights. So we will see where that goes. But at this point,
it's a conspiracy to suppress his civil rights.
I think there's no question. I think when you have, and we will see what the evidence shows, but there's a lot of suspicious things that occurred after this incident. I do not believe the school called EMS quickly enough. There was about a 2-hour gap.
Oh, my God.
And we need to know.
2-hour gap.
Right. And there was the plea.
Well, soon they'll just start warehousing the kids till they die. And if they don't, maybe just.
It was a horrific reaction.
Wait a minute. 2 hours they waited?
Right.
There should have been an ambulance there in 10 minutes.
Right. And they had moved him to a nurse's office. And
oh, just hoping he got better.
Right.
What?
As he was bleeding out of his ears.
Oh, my God. This just got 10 times worse.
Right.
Oh, now you've got them literally refusing medical aid. What, did they just hope he died, or what was?
We'll see. It was very bad. And
bleeding from his ears.
Right. It was very bad, and I'm certain that the police tried to control the narrative about what happened very quickly, and we're confident we will be able to show that.
I'm surprised they didn't just take him behind closed doors and claim he got up and attacked him and then, shoot him a couple times.
I've seen that happen in other cases, but thankfully.
Well, why not just put nooses in at the school and they can just hang whoever they want? Because it is an execution center. We'll be right back with attorney Adam Loewy. This is an incredible case, and it could happen to you and cops. It could happen to your kids. It probably will. 2 hours. I guess hoping he'd snap out of it, son. I mean, we just hit you with a cattle prod and you hit your head on the hard concrete floor, boy. Shake it off. Now, this happened to one of those cops. Even by accident, if they'd hit by a taser and fallen over, it'd be a big parade and 21-gun salutes because they have value. But I guess De Rivera doesn't have any value. And as I mentioned, even the Washington Post is in the news today saying that we have militarized police. Talking to his lawyer, Adam Loewy. Adam, you were talking about posse comitatus during the break, the militarization. The political establishment wants to convert us to a command and control system. This is Rand Corporation all the way, the domestic stabilization force that they called for in the 80s. This is a plan. What is your take on where this is going, how this is going to unfold? And am I wrong? Is it just that because of YouTube and because of cameras we know about more of this? Or is it getting worse? And tell us about some of your other high-profile cases.
Well, I've seen it get worse in just the 10 years that I've been practicing this kind of law. I think that when you militarize the police and you don't train them properly, which I think happens a lot, especially in this situation, you're going to see more and more about this where there's a mentality among certain police officers that it's a war zone out there. I mean, you've heard them say that. I had a case, it was a high-profile case that one of the officers talked about boots on the ground in a certain neighborhood. That is a military term. And if they're using that kind of term in policing, you know what the mentality is. So I think that it's going to get worse. I think I've seen it get worse just in the cases I've handled. And again, the biggest problem I have with it, which is, of course, first, the loss of life and this young man being hurt so bad in this case, but it's the lying that occurs afterwards. It is the constant lying by government officials.
And police admit they're trained how to lie on the stand, and the gullible public doesn't even know that.
Right. I think that police, more than anyone, are trained when it comes to criminal cases, for example, to testify in the right way, if you will. They are trained how to testify, and they're very good at testifying because that's what they do. So when something like this occurs, they're very smooth. They're very smooth in how they talk about it. And what's very disturbing to me, and I know you talk a lot about this, is when you talk about media, the mainstream media's main source for most stories is police. It's a lot of criminal stories. It's a lot of stuff that sells. So they have these connections in the police department. And in order to have connections, in order to have Chief Acevedo call you back, you cannot expose them for what they're doing.
Well, I got to be fair to Arte Acevedo. And I know there's always that access issue that's well known. And he does actually come down here, even though I give him pretty hard interviews. But he's unlike a lot of other police chiefs. But I know sometimes when other media does do critical pieces, he doesn't talk to them again. I guess he talks to me because it's part of his outreach or whatever. I mean, he is a slick little devil, isn't he? He's
very slick. He's very good at the media.
He does stuff like they had the deputy mayor say, well, once we register your guns, we are going to confiscate them. And then people push our guys and yell at them, the pro-gun guys. And then when he was in there, he goes, well, your guys were cussing. And I went back and looked at the video. Our guys aren't cussing. It's the anti-gun people. My only point is that he really is slick. Because to him, it's just like winning. You know what I mean? Right. He'll just throw out whatever BS he has.
No, he's very slick. And I think that the broader issue is, and people need to realize, when they hear stories from the media is getting the stories from the police. They do not want to burn those bridges. So when something like this...
Well, I'll say instinctively mainstream media just grovels regardless.
Right.
And just takes whatever they say and then even dolls it up. I mean, I've worked in radio, in TV, and I've watched the groveling behind the scenes to people in uniform.
I mean, I sat through where I handled a trial last year where the way the media covered it, even when the evidence was clear in a courtroom, they just kept repeating the party line. The issue in this case was whether a police officer got hit by a car and they opened fire into this car. The evidence was clear that the officer was never hit by a car. Clear as can be. Even the defense lawyer admitted that. But yet the media, from day one, just repeated what the police said. He was hit by a car. He was hit by a car. And it's just this reflexive, oh, if the police say it, it must be true. And that's why this case is so powerful. Because they said initially, no, he was fighting. No, he was fighting. Well, thank God, we have video. And the video doesn't lie. He wasn't fighting.
What about Jackson case?
The Jackson case is a case where...
That's your case, too, isn't it?
Right. And that's a case where there was a bank robbery. The bank was shut down. 6 hours later, Larry Jackson Jr. came to the bank.
They were looking for a white guy, right?
They were looking for
a black guy. Shows up.
Right. And this
must be him.
Charles Kleinert came out. Larry ran, and Kleinert commandeered a civilian vehicle and told this woman, drive. Chased this young man down, saw him under a bridge, went under the bridge with him, and shot him in the back of the head. He subsequently claimed it was an accident. And before Chief Acevedo...
Well, at least that sounds more honest than a lot of times. At least he admitted he shot him. I mean, usually they'd say he pulled out a lightsaber, you know.
Right. And so, but we look at it, this was murder. You know, why has he not been arrested at this point? And so that's going before the grand jury in a few weeks.
And people would say, well, why did this guy run? I mean, I'm getting to the point if the state police said, get out, we're going to stick our fingers in your rear end, I might run. I mean, I don't want to be raped. I mean, I'm starting to, I mean, it is kind of scary now. So people do run. I mean, they're scared.
Well,
look at that woman in D.C. She ran into a checkpoint in a drill with Army, we now learn.
Right.
She ran, barely hit a cone, one of those barrels. They chased her down and killed her.
Right.
Well, she had a reason to run.
Well, and that's on the Loewy case, for example, when he's in the nurse's office, there's some claims that he was screaming, crying, and then apologizing. And they've jumped on this, say, oh, you know, look, we were right. Well, first of all, we don't know if he actually was apologizing.
People always beg for their lives.
What would you do if the government has just attacked you and you've sustained a traumatic brain injury? He was scared.
Well, that's what Kelly Thomas does. He goes, I'm sorry, please, whatever you say, Daddy, God, Daddy, right. Daddy, bam, 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 Daddy, help me, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy.
I mean, you have someone with a bat.
I'm sorry.
Who is coming after you, and you know,
that'd be like a psychopath torturing some kid to death in a dungeon, and the kid's saying they're sorry, and the psychopath goes, "See, you are bad. Here's the pliers." I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think that these are very scary situations for people, and it goes back to I think people need to be very skeptical of when the government does this. They are
well, yeah. When people grovel to government, you get Nazi Germany. This isn't the American way. I mean, we had cases out in the Old West where you'd have corrupt sheriffs doing stuff like this, and they'd overthrow them.
Right.
Since when did America become about groveling to government?
I think that one of the big problems in these cases is that police are very protected by immunity laws. It is very difficult to bring a federal civil rights case.
They didn't used to have all this immunity.
Absolutely not. And the immunity gets worse and worse. And what immunity means is they can't be sued. You can't sue your government in a lot of these situations. And when you sue the government, they have about 50 different ways they can get the case kicked out of court. And again, that's the government controlling the game here. And
listen, it's so bad that I haven't told this story yet. I'm not supposed to. It's about to become a federal case. Maybe I should get you involved. But we have an old piece of property, and like in the 40s, we traded a piece of property on one end that was rural for a piece of property on the road. These people just disregarded it, kind of took it back over. My grandfather kicked the people off. Now their grandson is a sheriff's deputy in East Texas. This is on record and ended up getting caught the second time on tape. Showed up during deer season with guns. It's like 40 acres out of thousands. No, it's 100 acres out of thousands. Pointing guns at people saying, get off the property, it's mine. Total racketeering, total official oppression, civil rights violation. He's been told by a court before not to come on the property and lost in another court case, even though it's been 60 years or something. Been adjudicated multiple times and then did it again and was caught on tape.
Right.
And the local sheriff's department will not do anything about their own deputy. These people are literally God.
Above the law. That's how a lot of them think. I mean, a lot of them are very good
Well,
people.
they better hope I'm never there when they're pointing guns at people, because I've had enough.
I think that these fears that people have, people like yourself to talk about it, I think they're very real. I think that it's not just the exaggeration.
I will not take my children on our own property now to hunt, because if this guy comes around and literally points guns at people and says leave, comes over fences, drove a police car down gullies that I will not take a four-wheel drive in.
Right.
This is how mentally insane these people are. Literally on a power-mad trip.
And the problem is that even though they can represent the minority of police officers, they are not held to be accountable for what they do. The police will circle the wagons, like in this case, say, oh, he had to do what he had to do. He was being threatened, when he wasn't.
Well, there's another entrance where he'd have to go like 2 miles away to get where he wanted to go. So he drove it through and took it down into a creek bottom. I'm not exaggerating, that you can barely take a Jeep through, and got the police car, the sheriff's car, this is in Freestone County, all the way through and up the gully. Right. And got in no trouble. And then pulled guns on hunters.
Right.
With his family member who's not a cop, with a gun.
I get calls from people that tell me similar stories, and when you realize you don't have a case, not saying you don't, but when people, I realize, advise there's no case because of immunity.
No, it's going to go federal. Yeah, we've got a case.
But what's interesting is that what you tell them, or the people, the citizens will say, I'm going to call internal affairs. I mean, internal affairs is not going to do a single thing. You have a problem with the Austin Police Department, you call internal affairs, it's going to go into a file. You'll never hear from them again. I mean, that's how bad it's become, that even when internal affairs does something, we've seen this in some cases I've handled in Austin, the chief doesn't follow what internal affairs wants. The chief's going to make his own decision. And so I think that the problem is one of arrogance. It's one of they feel they can do whatever they want. They will not be held accountable. And what happens is things like this. Innocent, young children get very seriously hurt for the rest of their life.
Well, I'm not a star lawyer like you, but what I've seen in the cases that win, you just show they were acting outside their capacity, that they've lied. You go after the school for not rendering the aid for 2 hours. I mean, you know what to do. Fire torpedoes on every front. You're going to sink them.
Right. Well, it's going to be a tough case, but we're very confident we can prevail.
Are you going to later probably go after the fact they didn't render care?
Absolutely. We've sued the school district as well.
Yeah, I knew that, but I mean, you got them right there.
Well, it's going to be, like I said, I am certain there were a lot of emails that were sent in the 24 hours after this, a lot of communications.
The cover-up is proof of the crime.
We will get all of that evidence, and we will see what's there.
Now, let me say this about the Austin police. I mean, I've been all over the country, and overall, they seem nice and professional, most of them I run into, compared to some of the other cities I've been in, where the police are downright scary.
I totally agree with that.
I mean, the Houston police are downright scary.
And I've handled cases in Chicago, and that's just a different level of policing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the cops there one time, I was filming on the street, and they said, don't do that. And normally I'd argue, and I could tell that these cops were not like wimps, like acting like they were going to hurt me. They were looking at me like these detectives, and they were going to really hurt me.
Right.
And they were looking at me. They go, listen, don't do it again. And they didn't say anything else. They were like, I could tell that they were criminals.
Right.
And I was like, wow.
And that's, I do feel that about the Austin police. I think overall, compared to other departments, they're good. But when things happen that are bad, they have an inability to admit they did wrong. And that's the problem.
And they've got Mr. Slick. I mean, he is unbelievable.
He's very good. He's very good. And that's what the city council wants. They put it all on his hands to go talk to the media and schmooze the media and sell the public on a certain narrative. And so that'll be curious what happens on this.
Well,
case.
I mean, here's the deal. I don't want the police killing my kids sometime if they mouth off. I mean, it's scary.
And that's a good point. You know, when you put police officers in a high school, it's high school. Things are going to happen in the halls of a high school, such as a fight between two girls.
I mean, I got in fights with my coaches and stuff where they, and then they were so macho, they wouldn't like press charges on me because they grabbed me and then I elbowed them, so they punched me in the head and then I punched them. My dad didn't go after them because I had a big black eye from the coach.
Right.
I mean, it's just disgusting. I would have been killed probably.
And that's the scary thing. We're not talking that this case occurred on the dark streets at 3 a.m. This was in a well-lit high school hallway at 10:30 in the morning on a Wednesday. It's high school. Why are you tasing a child?
Well, De Rivera did a good job. Pulled the girl off. You see his body language? The cops put their hand on him, pushed him over here. They just kill him. They tried to kill him.
Right. And trust me, it was a life or death situation for a while after this occurred. I mean, he was very close to death, and he's going to have to deal with the traumatic brain injury the rest of his life. For what? For what? It's completely unjustified in every regard.
Well, I mean, do the police want their kids being treated like this? That's the golden rule. Treat people like you want to be treated. You want to have a macho, tough guy position like a cop. Don't be scared, literally wetting yourself, or like an attack dog, ready to attack everybody out there.
Right.
I mean, you'll be like an American bulldog that's not aggressive, it's not mean unless you attack it, then it's vicious. You need to be manly like Matt Dillon and not just go around attacking innocent people. You're supposed to fight real thugs. But instead, most police I know, take Travis County, they're completely scared of like the real motorcycle gangs, the real drug dealers,
right?
The banditos. The police don't dare mess with banditos. I mean, it's pathetic, but they'll kill little kids.
Well, I think that it's a very big problem. And the truth of the matter is most officers go through their career, never pull a taser. They never pull their gun. It's when it happens and then they kill someone who is innocent or seriously hurt someone who's innocent and then start lying about what happened. And then you're right, rally around this. Will we protect and serve? We're good people. You need to support us. It's like, look, I support the police, but just like in any industry, if you do wrong, you should be held accountable. And that's the big problem here.
Well, it will be their undoing. And the whole authoritarian regime's arrogance, because they're just where the rubber meets the road, the establishment wants this attitude. And police should realize this is going to discredit them. They've got to stop this, or they'll become like police in third world countries who are the plague. Listen, Attorney Adam Loewy, thank you so much. Plug your website for folks that want to learn more.
My website's loewyfirm.com, L-O-E-W-Y firm.com, and handle these civil rights cases and personal injury cases.
Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Thank you.
Have you ever been threatened over what you do?
No, but I'm careful.
All right, buddy, take care.
Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, there goes that interview. We're going to go to break and come back with more news, and then we're going to have open phones in the third hour, interspersed with all this news I haven't gotten to yet. Just briefly here before we go to break, this is listener-supported broadcast. You know, most of the sponsors you hear are the network sponsors. That doesn't fund our operation. What funds us are the sponsors you hear me endorse here on air, like mypatriotsupply.com/Alex, the best storable foods out there, non-GMO, organic, whole 9 yards. They've got such high-quality products there on their site. It's where I get my storable foods, mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. Or if you go to the top of mypatriotsupply.com/Alex, you can give them a call, 866-229-0927. Now, also, don't forget that we have InfoWarsLife.com. And InfoWarsLife.com has the proprietary supplements that we've developed with Dr. Group and others that are absolutely incredible. And you've heard the rave reviews from listeners unsolicited to the point of it almost being annoying, though I say God bless you. This is real iodine. It turns blue-purple on paper, not black like bound garbage iodine that you still need, but your body can't really absorb it like the real nascent iodine. This is proprietary. It's Survival Shield from InfoWars Life, InfoWarsLife.com. We also have the double-sized bottle of Fluoride Shield. It's our best deal out there. It helps take the fluoride out of the body, protect the thyroid. It has 5 ingredients with the nascent iodine. They can be taken together, but talk to your physician if you have any issues. Fluoride Shield, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And your purchase, regardless, supports the broadcast. So take the challenge. Get the Super Male Vitality, the Fluoride Shield, the Survival Shield, the Wake Up America Chiapas Organic Coffee. Try it out. If you don't love it, I'll be absolutely amazed. The reviews have been stellar. Thank you for your support. We'll be back. You know, last night when I was watching Weldon Henson at the Broken Spoke, I just said, thank God I'm from Texas. And thank God. I was thinking, I'm not bragging. I was just thinking how good my family is. And just how good old-fashioned American culture is. Everybody would just leave their wallets and their purses. There's no surveillance cameras. Just leave them all over their tables. And the place was about 80% full of folks dancing. And it's where George Strait got his start, and the ceiling's falling in, and nobody steals anything. Because everybody is into not being a criminal. Everybody's into being honorable. Everybody's into being somebody you can trust. And I tell you, that's what life is all about. And you know, growing up, I'd kind of get irritated by people that were all hat and no cattle and all that stuff. But at least they're trying to mimic what's left of that old culture that my grandfathers were part of, that their grandfathers were part of. And it's just such a good culture compared to the culture we've got now. And that's why the whole system, Hollywood, you name it, Bill Maher attacks country music, attacks country people, attacks Duck Dynasty, attacks it all. Because the idea of rural communities, rugged individuals, people out west, I don't care, folks all over this land, that's what threatens them. That's what they want to stop. Speaking of police, I barely plugged this, so I'm going to plug it now. We sell the magazine at cost in bulk. And the current InfoWars February edition has yours truly, Alex Jones, dressed up in a riot police uniform with a halo over my head, but the shadow is of the devil. And I came up with this basic design. Molly Rogers did the great photoshopping. But the point is, people say, what does it mean? Well, it means that anybody could be a cop. And a cop could be a good guy, he could be a bad guy. But it's all about the federalization, globalization of police. This is the police issue. It's got a bunch of other articles in it, but it's really designed to get police to think about the different roles they could be in. The oath of office, the future cop. Utah police obtain grenade launchers. Cop gives homeless man boots. Officer friendly versus the police state. Good cops are out there. We got examples of good cops. Think tank. Boehner criticized on Facebook and showing everybody revolted against him. DHS gives Muslim Brotherhood VIP pass, an expansion on that article. Anti-gun, Michael Bloomberg as defense secretary. County sheriffs stand up for Second Amendment. Hypocritical Texas DPS. Obama plans to rule by executive order. Police beat elderly deaf man. Appalachian war zone. And it just goes on and on. Letters to the editor. I mean, it's really a first-rate magazine. And it's a great way to wake people up. InfoWarsStore.com. InfoWarsStore.com. And you can buy them in bulk at cost to get out to your friends and your family. And it's got the big Leanne McAdoo, America, InfoWars, Full Throttle Liberty. And we ought to tweet this image out. Hey, will you guys get this image from the graphics department and tweet this out with it saying Infowars.com, Full Throttle Liberty? You know, I didn't even bring up in the last hour the fact that tasers, last time I checked, they've estimated it was a couple years ago, 500 dead. They tase people all the time. They have a heart attack. And they're tasing people for lower and lower reasons. And again, it's like, well, better do what we say. And that's an act of terrorism. And I'm tired of it. But look, that's all a side issue. What do you think about what I raised earlier, the Hill reporting on Obama climate hubs, federal Homeland Security fusion centers to spy on rural areas with NASA with satellites and dispatch hordes of bureaucrats to harass everyone? And then that ties into the announcement and the Economist that, oh, all these countries that owe debts that the bankers have taken over our governments and induced us to sign on to, mainly their derivatives, buildings, land, power, state-owned companies, oil, gas, mineral rights, banks, and transport, just like they've done in the third world, give it all in privatization. It's not privatization to say a company is going to buy the land from everybody and build a new reservoir, build a canal, and then sell that water. And then sell slots for boats and houses. That's a real free market privatization. And then they say, we have our own power plant. And we have our own everything. These companies could do that. No. They come in and they take over existing systems. They get regulations passed the last 15 years all over Europe and the U.S. to make them upgrade water facilities, to add all these chemicals and all this garbage. And they go, oh, you can't pay for that? We'll take it over. And then they buy it up with fiat derivative money. It's all a giant fraud. And it'd be one thing if it was even fraud and they just built an economy for us to live in, but it's a controlled, collapsing economy as an economic form of domination as well. So that's just some of what's happening on that front. I would love to hear from you on the information I broke down with just the otherworldliness of this UN takeover of our infrastructure like we're a third world country. In fact, it's about an hour and a half into America Destroyed by Design. It's where I'm at the Grand Canyon. Guys, go to YouTube. It's on DVD. We sell the DVD, but I know it's on YouTube, a really low-quality version of it. But go to YouTube, type in America Destroyed by Design, and I'll run in there during the break, and I'll scan through it. I can find the spot where I'm at the Grand Canyon. I say, all the buffer areas are being taken, and they will then give our resources in the next 20 to 30 years over to foreign banks for the artificial debt of the Federal Reserve. I am here to warn you. Because they've done this in third world countries over and over and over again. And now they're going, I know what'll get us out of a problem economy. All the derivatives that we got you to sign on to, they got us to sign on to their debt. Give us, like Greece, all of your islands, your national parks, your infrastructure, and we'll double and triple prices. And we can manage things better than you can. It's been these corporations that managed us into this situation on record. This is so crazy. So I want to hear from you when we get back on the other side on this subject. First-time callers. You can talk about whatever else you want, but I'd like you to humor me on this front. Or your take on tasers, or your take on Obamacare being such a screw job, and got a bunch of Google Glasses news coming up as well. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231, and we will get you up and on the air. And I think the clip you found, Chris Jordan, was me about 2 years ago at the Grand Canyon. This is from 1997, but it's on YouTube. It's America Destroyed by Design. It's a 2-hour film, my first film. Because I'd tell people about all these UN documents and plans. They'd say I was a liar. So I loaded up with my cousin, Buckley Hammond, who helped start InfoWars. And we drove around the country in 15 days and produced that film when we got back to warn people about what was coming. And now we're under it. 800-259-9231. Video at the bottom of the hour. This is big. Senior congressman attempts to get FBI director to say investigative journalism is a crime. We've got Dianne Feinstein also running around trying to strip real journalists, if they're not New York Times or whatever, of the protections of the press. It is just insane. The press should all rally together and protect the First Amendment. Pile of pillows prompts school lockdown. Adon Salazar reports on just the total hysteria that the system's creating. I wonder who came in my office and got the phone and put it on ringer. That ringer's never been on. That's just like there's gremlins that live in here or something. I have no people come in this office and do all sorts of stuff when they're in here doing radio interviews or TV stuff. They use it as a voiceover booth. Who did that? Who used my phone? I want to know. We're going to find out. It doesn't matter. It's always the microphone's over here and papers are over there, and there'll be like people's Coca-Cola cans in here. We can put like a toilet in here. People can start crapping in here. Excuse me. All right. No, I love the crew. I'm sorry. It's like I just always want to know why stuff's moved around in here. Anyway, side issue, ladies and gentlemen. I have a landline in here because it has better quality than the computer phones we've got out there. Okay, I've now really digressed here with that. We could make this actually a lounge. Put toilets in over there, and then like have a guy over there that like has perfumes and hands you hand towels. You ever go in like a fancy restaurant and they have a bathroom attendant? I don't like that. And I'm washing my hands. They're talking to you, and and it's awkward. Yeah, but we should do that. We should. I don't know why. Just it's like make my broadcast studio, which is really like my office. We should just turn it into a public toilet. In fact, it shouldn't just be for the rest of the office. We should have like a building area out there open to the public. How's that sound? Okay, I'm really digressing now. Let's get back to the serious news here. Continuing, TSA blasted for dishonest response to whistleblowers' expose. Video, TSA now hiring even more lazy and abusive screeners. We're going to show you that video, give you a play-by-play of that coming up. So we're getting a lot of video ready for you. Is Bitcoin a revolutionary game changer or a Trojan horse? I think both. And then a news article that's already scrolled off of Infowars.com's front page. That's a problem with the old design. We've got the new design ready. We're just doing some final tweaks. There's an article here where Justice Scalia, Supreme Court Justice, confirms American internment camps will happen again. He said, it is a reality. That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. So we're going to be getting to that as well. But right now we're taking your phone calls across the map on the police, on the announcements like Greece. They want to take all the public lands and not give it to the public for economic development, but give it to the foreign banks that induced us to sign on to their 1.5 quadrillion. That's 1,500 trillion, by the way, boys and girls. That 90+% of it is their debt, not our debt. But the public is economically ignorant, so now they're announcing in The Economist, take America and the rest of the world's money and give it to the Davos scallywags that are tax exempt. So we're going to be taking your calls on that and more. Ron in New York, you're on the air worldwide, sir. Thanks for calling.
Hey, how are you, Alex?
Good. Go ahead.
Listen, Alex, a friend of mine, totally by accident, came across an operations research technical manual. It's TW-SW7905.1. The topic is silent weapons for silent war.
Yeah, that's Colonel Alexander.
Oh, okay. Okay, you have heard of it.
Yeah, we've covered it a lot on air. It was declassified, I think, in 1998.
I don't know. It says here, silent weapons, silent wars, programming manual was uncovered quite by accident.
No, silent weapons for quiet wars.
Yes.
And then people always take stuff and make derivatives off of it. But that's what soft kill weapons are in the food, the water, so you never know what hit you. That's why they soft kill all the troops with deadly vaccines. That's why statistically troops, just have total kidney failure, organ failure, brain damage. And then they call it PTSD. No, in most cases, they've been basically soft murdered because you want to retire the weapon once it gets out. You want to debilitate it so they'll fall into the VA and can be slowly reclamated. It's like you spike a cannon. But go ahead, sir. Tell me about it.
Goes on. I mean, it talks about economics.
Economic warfare, shutting down America. Yeah, very loving.
Economics and shock testing, as far as what they do is they raise the price of something and shock test the...
Yeah, that's Milton Friedman stuff that then got adopted, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I just didn't know if you heard of it. I haven't heard. I mean, I've been listening for a long time.
No, I'm glad. No, whenever I'm glad you bring up stuff that I know about. A lot of times I don't know about stuff, but I'm just confirming what you're saying about it. Give us your take on this loving Pentagon document.
Well, I got to tell you, it's very disturbing, and I believe that a lot of people should look it up and investigate it, because it tells you, a lot of people walk around and they go, man, why is, always why are things the way they are? Why did that happen? Why did this happen? And this tells you the why. This gives you the answer of the why. For everything that happens in your life. I mean, holy education, everything.
Oh, I know. Listen, you read Rand Corporation stuff on the National Stabilization Force, military force. You read Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. You read Carol Quigley's Tragedy and Hope. You read Between Two Ages. You read The Technotronic Era by Brzezinski. You read Council on Foreign Relations public stuff. It's all spelled out, but in flowery terms. And then that's what's so frustrating. I mean, that's why the police, I'm not mad at the police. They've been brainwashed like everybody else. They're having fluoride put in their water. They're having GMO engineered. They're all dead. They're all walking dead already. Their kids are already dead. Their kids already don't talk to them and watch TV and play video games all day. We're already all dead unless we turn this around. I mean, these GMO crops, by the second generation, they're more than half sterile, brain damage, tumors growing all over their bodies, the rats and guinea pigs. We're already going now into second generations being born under this. By the third, I mean, it's going to be just everybody dying. And so, it sounds insane, but I've read all their textbooks. They admit how they've done it. And they say in the textbooks that the fact that the public doesn't care they're doing it gives them a right to do it. Under U.S. Code Title 50, Chapter 32, subsection 1528, paragraph B. And they say, this outlaws secret testing on the public unless law enforcement or research purposes. And they say they can kill us for any purposes of research or law enforcement. So, of course, this is a total authoritarian takeover. We're seen as a plague. And to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy, they've dumbed us down so that we will be a plague. And now we're seeing the roll-up of civilization. Does it concern anybody? I'm glad it concerns you, Ron. Anything else on silent weapons for quiet wars?
Everything concerns me. I called Bob Kelly. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's the head of the EPA in Washington.
Yes.
I finally got through to him. His number is 1914.
No, we're not going to we can't get people's numbers out. Listen, I appreciate your call, brother. Here's the deal. I'm sure you're a nice caller, but we can't give numbers out because people will do it to prank call people. I'm not saying you do that, but if we let people do it, it'll turn into a... Now, if I check the number and see it is a public number, and then we can give the number out. But I just can't do it before I've verified. Trust but verify, as Ronald Reagan said. Matt in California, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. How you doing, considering?
I'm doing all right. I mean, the government loves me, and everything's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just wanted to... I've been a listener about 4 years, first-time caller. But, yeah, I just want to talk about... I don't know if you heard, but... It looks like here in Palm Springs, the elite have found kind of a new hiding ground, little castle to do their secret meetings. We got in Rancho Mirage here on February 14th, Obama is meeting with the King of Jordan. I want to try to make it out there to protest. I was going to see if you wanted to rally some, Southern Californians to protest. Obama was in town a couple months ago with the president of China, and there was a lot of people protesting the Chinese president, but I didn't see anyone protesting Obama. So I think around here people just seem to,
Well, that's because you're not allowed to protest him in China. So the Chinese immigrants and people appreciate being able to protest here in America. Yeah, people should protest Obama. They should protest all of it. They should protest Obama trying to make it mandatory that all cars activate the tracker boxes for car-to-car communication to start taxing us by the mile. That story's up on Infowars.com. I mean, it's all coming down. They know people are starting to wake up, so they're trying to push the entire agenda through right now.
Right. Well, yeah, thanks. Just wanted to talk about that. Do you mind if I give out the website of where that place is?
Sure.
It's www.sunnylands.org, SUNNYLANDS. It's like a little castle. It's all walled off, and so. But yeah, anyway, thanks for fighting the good fight, and keep trucking. Thank you.
God bless you, brother. Listen, I'm not even fighting the good fight here. I mean, we are being targeted for soft kill, incremental, ambient extermination. See, people think it's the fast attack that gets you. No, it's the slow attack, so slow you don't even see it moving until it hits you. And we are under attack, and 99.99% of us are together under attack. Only fools think they can join with the New World Order and come out on top. It's just there's activities of the TSA in a dark, satirical way. Right now, let's go to John in Michigan. You're on the air. Thanks for holding, sir.
Hi, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, I want to talk about Fukushima and up here in Michigan, right over in Canada, they're trying to bury a bunch of nuclear waste. And it's kind of crazy because, earlier in the year, the General Accounting Office, part of Congress, did that investigation on all the nuclear plants. And up here in Michigan, right in the Great Lakes area, we had 4 power stations that all had high level of violations, and they closed down the one in Wisconsin recently because it was so many violations. And earlier in the year, the Palisades nuclear facility, it's in western Michigan, it actually leaked radioactive water into the Great Lakes.
Oh, no, I saw that at the time. It was like, oh, yeah, we release tens of thousands of gallons of radioactive waste. It's no big deal, though. And the problem is these reactors are all 35, 40 years old and rotting. And people say, don't bury it in the desert, inside these vaults. That's a lot better than storing it all at the power plants because nobody will take it in the middle of populated areas. So, and I understand people in Arizona and New Mexico saying, not in my backyard, but it's better to stick it out in the middle of the desert inside giant underground caves and vaults that have already been built where it's literally going to take thousands of years to leak out instead of where it's leaking out currently. I mean, it's just such a mess because everybody just pushes stuff off. Everybody just says, oh, well, we'll let somebody else handle it. And that's why we're just not up to nuclear power. We just cannot do it correctly. Go ahead.
Yeah, they want to bury this nuclear waste in the Ontario Power Generation Corporation. It wants to bury 400 meters from Lake Huron, 71 million cubic feet of nuclear waste. It's not like high-level waste, it's low-level waste, but why does that be buried 400 meters from a lake, It's kind of crazy, that proposition.
It is, my friend. Good to hear from you. It's all part of the madness. They've got the GM health fears, complete nonsense, says British Environment Secretary, the London Guardian reports. It's always nonsense the government's dealing drugs. Nonsense there's police brutality. Nonsense there's corruption in the courts. Nonsense. Nonsense that we want to take your guns, even though we openly want to take your guns. Nonsense. Nonsense that NAFTA and GATT has gotten rid of our jobs, even though it has. Nonsense that Obamacare doubles and triples the prices. Nonsense there's death panels, even though there are. Nonsense. Nonsense you can keep your doctor. Nonsense. Nonsense you didn't build your business. Your kids aren't your kids. Nonsense that parents should be over their children. Nonsense. No, it's all just this confidence game. Oh, everybody knows Ted Cruz is discredited. Do you hear about him getting discredited for criticizing Obamacare? Yeah, he's really discredited now because it all came true exactly what he said. Alex Jones got discredited, did you hear? He said a bunch of years ago they'd use drones against farmers and people, and we're setting up a Rural Affairs Bureau with carbon taxes. Oh, they're doing it now. Nonsense. 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 I mean, that's the London Guardian. Look at this. Look at this chump if you're watching us on TV. Just another arrogant, know-it-all, frat boy punk who thinks that his BS... You guys give me a document cam on this? Thanks. Look at this photo right here. GM health fears, complete nonsense, says British Environment Secretary. Look at his arrogance. I mean, every study on the GMO crops that grow pesticide in them, is that it kills the bugs that eat it and causes liver problems in humans and all sorts of reproductive problems and cancer. And it's an absolute fact, you piece of crap. You think it's funny that cancer rates in England are 3,000% what they were in the 50s, just like here, and that England and the U.S. lead the world in cancer? You like everybody dying, you eugenics bastard? I know who you are, you scumbag, you eugenics cult member, you enemy, you son of... I'm telling you, these people are our enemies. And I'm not trying to put on an act here getting angry. I literally look at this guy's face. Owen Patterson. I mean, what a look at that look. They always have this self-satisfied pretty boy look, like they've got all the answers because they know how to BS everybody and cheat humanity and literally crap all over everyone with their poisons and then sit there and laugh at us while you guarantee, just like all the Monsanto scientists and the elites, this guy eats nothing but organic and filtered water and goes to spas all day. And I am sick of people like this piece of crap. Just like Monsanto with their Agent Orange killed 2 members of my family, and I'm sick of you, and I hate you bastards. You are contributing to the downfall of society, you maggot! It's causing mutated viruses to kill all sorts of animals. I mean, it is just unbelievable. I've had all the big top scientists on. One guy was making $3 million a year from the UK, and they came out with a new potato that basically killed and sterilized the rats. So he said, we can't release this. And they said, shut up. I've had Russian scientists on. They're like, we're feeding the rats this GMO soy, and they're all becoming sterile. And they said, that's the whole point. And then they sit there. Look it up. Monsanto has been known for 15 years, since 1999, to only have organic food and filtered water in their cafeterias, in their closed reservations. It's like military bases getting on there. And it's all need to know. They can stack up to 100 different traits into a proprietary crop, and then it's federal and international law. You can't ever look at it or release what's really in it because it's patented. I mean, this is total weaponized takeover, but according to the environment minister, it's complete nonsense. That's just his argument. Oh, it's just complete nonsense. This is the type of garbage that we deal with as a society. I think he should be sentenced for endangering the public well-being and putting out disinfo to eating only McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken 3 times a day. And he will look like the rest of the mutated, self-propelled stomach, soft-killed people out there on the street. That literally look like they've just been living inside a nuclear reactor for 5 years. I mean, let him eat all the fast food with the plastics in it and have his kidneys fail. But you can look at Twinkle Toes and guaranteed that guy exercises twice a day, is all in, goes skiing in Switzerland and everything else, and just, and only eats organic, and then says, preposterous, you will eat his little navies. I'm going to go to your phone calls. We've got breaking news in minutes with Kit Daniels at Infowars.com. He's about to bring me the story in as soon as he prints it. The post office is now making a giant ammo buy. This is like 2.5 billion bullets in the last 3 years. And now the post office is buying them. And of course, we broke 2 years ago. They're building secret rooms now for during civil emergencies in the post offices. They're using all these federal buildings as all these non-military federal buildings as fronts to basically put in clandestine substations. They're fully militarizing against us and spending hundreds of millions per Social Security office to hire XZ-type mercenaries, Blackwater mercenaries. I mean, this is getting cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs crazy. And all I'm doing is sitting here desperately warning people over and over again of the peril. The absolute, total, and complete peril of what's going on. Hey, Nico, I can't do it because I'm on air. Are they going to tweet that centerfold of the magazine? I'll do it. Somebody just sends it to my phone. I'll do it. I'll do it. I can go to break and do it. I guarantee you I can do it. I'm ready to do it. I want to do it. I want to send stuff out. I'm going to do it. I can't help it. Watch this move. I'm going to screenshot this right now in here, and I'm going to send it out this way. Watch this move. And then we're going to go back to your phone calls and then go to these stories. I got a glare here. If somebody will hold this up, I'll take a photo and send it out this way right now. Here we go. Just hold that up for me right there, Nico. Thank you very much. And, oh, look at that. Cannot take photo. It's full. I've been shooting so much stuff, so let me go into settings. Let me go into videos. And let me delete some of these videos I've been shooting here. Doesn't matter. It's going to happen. Gonna happen. Look at all. I've been recording all of Weldon's music last night. Even though it's good, I've got to erase one of these. I didn't back this phone up yet. Okay, here we go. Take a photo. See how we do right here. Up, still doing it. See, I'm being frustrated. Okay, let me borrow your phone. I'll take a shot, send it to my phone, send it out, because I'm not going to wait 3 days to send this out. We're going to do it right now. It's going to happen right now. Yeah, yeah, going to do it right now. Going to send it out. Going to tweet it. I wanted this tweeted days ago. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. What's the issue? They just can't get it, or what's going on here? Go ahead. All right, we're going to go ahead and do it right now. It doesn't matter. I'm doing it right now. There you go. There you go. We're going to send this out right now. Okay, flash is on. I'm going to take that flash off. I'll take that flash off. We're going to send this out. Not the issue. I just wanted this tweeted out days ago. What? All right, send that to me, and I'll tweet it out if it doesn't happen in the next 3 minutes. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to your phone calls. Jay in Michigan. You're on the air, Jay. Go ahead.
Oh, Alex, it's amazing to talk to you finally. I want to let you know you're not in this alone. We're out there helping you out. I owe you a debt of gratitude. A year ago, I was stuck in a dead-end job and wasn't sure what to do, and me and my activist friends got together, and we started making a couple films for a short series we were doing, and then we entered your Operation Paul Revere contest with a dream revered. So you already kind of know who I am, all right, even though we've never spoken before. And that really, started to change things when we got, a producer came on board that saw our film and wanted us to make another one, which turned into a pro-Second Amendment short called Dreams of a Gun-Free Zone, which was a really funny piece, and it's kind of gets the idea out there that we need to preserve the right for self-defense, Second Amendment, and we entered your Operation We Will Resist the TSA NSA contest as well with Spying for the NSA, another comedy video that we did, and we're looking to do another one. And my biggest question for you, though, was because I've been listening every day, and I haven't really heard any news on the current contest. And I know you guys are extremely busy over there. I can't even fathom the amount of energy and dedication it's got to take to fight this thing every day like you guys do. So, I mean, thank you for doing that. But
well, no, we have a great crew. It just seems like it all gets lost in the shuffle because I can't send all the tweets out. So when the magazine first came out, it was such a cool centerfold that I said, hey, I want to tweet that out. And then they tweeted another image of McAdoo with a 50 caliber rifle. And then I said again and send it out. And then I don't care. I just need to be sent the image and then I can send it out. It's not a big deal. I'll do it. And no, I know. And this guy's talking about the contest. I'm talking about getting stuff done. My issue is we can just stop having contests because we can never do a contest the way everyone wants. What specifically do you want us to do with a contest?
Oh, not to put too much pressure on you guys or anything, but I mean, I was just curious, when it was going to be judged or whatever.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, we've had like 15 contests, and we've paid out on all of them. Like the $100,000 last year, we paid out on that. And when you get 400 entries and a couple hundred of them are good, you want to dole them all out and give them attention, and then we've got to take the time to watch them. And so it becomes the issue of we don't have a lot of contests for the very reason that it bogs down trying to accurately judge them. And then it also upsets people when they don't win. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I noticed that a lot there was a lot of bad sportsmanship with the last contest. But, I mean, and I can only imagine that's got to be a daunting task looking at all those videos. But, I mean, we're still going to be keeping making videos over here. So if I could, I'd just like to give a shout-out, to plug our website. And, I mean, we go from there, win or lose, I'm saying? Really, it's about being active and waking other people up. And it does work. I mean, it does work. We've reached a lot of people with our efforts so far over here. So just want to say to everybody, HuronFilms.com. You know, we've already got 3 of them up there. We're going to be making another one, and we're working on a larger script right now. Thank you so much, Alex, man. You've really helped turn things around for me and a lot of people over here. So we really appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, and I mean, we're trying to get the people to take action. That's why we have contests on hanging up banners around the country that become a national story, on exposing vaccines, on exposing the NSA, TSA, because they're trying to intimidate bloggers and filmmakers and T-shirt makers that criticize the TSA or NSA. My answer is, okay, we'll have a $10,000 contest for videos exposing the TSA and NSA. And then, you know, I will try to judge it in the next few weeks, but it's quite frankly a blizzard of great entries. In fact, speaking of the devil, do we have the Joy Camp entry? We have that video. I want to play the Joy Camp entry that's up on Infowars.com right now if you're a radio listener and actually want to be able to watch that. You can go up to Infowars.com, and it is a video titled Video, TSA Now Hiring Even More Lazy and Abusive Screeners. Since they've tried to call bloggers and intimidate people and do cease and desist letters and shut down our videos that are parodies before. Since they don't like it, we're going to do more of it and shove the First Amendment down their throats. Here is that piece. Then we have the video of the congressman implying that journalists are terrorists. But here is the satire piece by Joy Camp. All right, great job. By the way, that was a real announcement there at the end. We have now tweeted it, and that is awesome. Because I could have tweeted it, but I didn't have a digital copy of the centerfold of the magazine yet. But we've now tweeted the centerfold that will make socialist commies and anti-Americans cringe. It is a very nice lady, Leanne McAdoo, our reporter, with 2 50 cal rifle Barretts with a bald eagle landing on the barrel of the rifle and a Trans Am and another great hot rod with American flags on the license plates. Yeah, Chevelle. And it says Full Throttle Liberty. And it's got jets flying around with the red, white, and blue, and here's explosions in the background. So, again, it says torturing fake feminist since 1995, Infowars.com. We've now tweeted that at Real Alex Jones. We have done it. We should probably, I think we've already done it. We should probably tweet the cover as well. Very powerful cover. In fact, this cover should probably be the featured news image today, to get people talking. I mean, very powerful image produced by our great graphics department. Okay, now here's a top story that just broke. It's up on Infowars.com. And we're going to get to Mike Rogers trying to say that investigative journalists are terrorists coming up after the break and more calls. But U.S. Postal Service announces giant ammo purchase. That's right. Post Office joins other federal agencies stockpiling more than 2 billion rounds of ammo. The U.S. Postal Service is currently seeking companies that will provide assorted small arms ammunition in the near future. It's a January 31st. We're breaking this. USPS Supplies and Services Purchase Office posted at the notice of the Federal Business Opportunities website asking contractors to register with USPS as potential ammunition suppliers for a vast variety of cartridges. The United States Postal Service intends to solicit for assorted small arms ammunition, the notice reads, which also mentioned a deadline of February 10th. The Post Office published the notice just 2 days after Senator Rand Paul announced his proposal to remove a federal gun ban that prevents lawful concealed carry holders from carrying handguns inside post offices across the country. Ironically, the Postal Service isn't the first non-law enforcement agency seeking firearms and ammunition. Since 2001, the U.S. Department of Education has been building a massive arsenal. And then it just goes over all the rest of it. He's done a great job. We also had their hardening all these other facilities and have bought billions and billions of rounds. It's got to be 2.5 billion rounds of ammunition right now. And Kit just got this up. He's adding more to it as we speak. We'll also tweet that out during the break at Real Alex Jones. Postal Service joins massive federal arms buildup. That's what's going on. And you add to this all the armored vehicles local departments are getting and the heavy armored vehicles from Iraq and the training to take on the Tea Party and gun owners. I mean, it is a criminal takeover by foreign banks that run the derivatives and are totally gutting the country from one end to the other. I mean, they are slitting our throat from one ear to the other. It is unbelievable. We're going to go to break and come back with senior congressman attempts to get FBI director to say investigative journalism is a crime. Calls Greenwald a thief selling stolen material. No, Congressman, you disgusting maggot. You, the globalist, have stolen our data and are selling it to all your friends and using it to corner the markets and take over. You are the thieves. You are the people with stolen data, violating the Fourth Amendment, you felon-supporting scumbag. Do you get that through your stinking head, maggot? In a display that truly underscores why Congress has an approval rating lower than cockroaches, Representative Mike Rogers yesterday attempted to coerce the head of the FBI into an admission that investigative journalism, such as that undertaken by Edward Snowden backer Glenn Greenwald, equates to a crime under U.S. law. This is all part of Dianne Feinstein and the rest of them. Let's go to the disgusting clip that sends chills up everyone's spine over these cockroaches trying to hide their activities. They're the ones criminally stealing the data. Here it is.
There have been discussions about selling of access to this material
you stole, you piece of crap.
Outlets and other places.
Excuse me to talk like that. But
Mr. Comey, to the best of your knowledge, is fencing stolen material, is that a crime?
Yes, it is.
And it would be selling the access of classified material that is stolen from the United States government. Would that be a crime?
You're illegally spying? That's what they released.
It's an issue that can be complicated if it involves a news gathering, a news
promulgation function. Is Clapper lying to us? Is that illegal?
Fencing or selling stolen property is a crime.
So if I'm a newspaper reporter for...
it's this guy, Mike Rogers, that is fencing it to Obama, saying he needs to handle the NSA and acting like he doesn't know what's going on. Congress is passing the buck as usual, like Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing, nothing. They're committing the crime. Investigative journalists are exposing it, jerk. Jerk. Let's go back to it.
Fill in the blank. And I sell stolen material. Is that legal because I'm a newspaper reporter?
Is it legal because you're a congressman?
Right. If you're a newspaper reporter and you're hawking stolen jewelry, it's still a crime.
And if I'm hawking stolen classified material,
and if you're covering up Benghazi or
possession
Fast
of
and Furious,
for personal gain and profit, is that not a crime?
I think that's a harder question because it involves a news gathering function, could have First Amendment implications. That's something that probably be better answered by the Department of Justice.
So entering into a commercial enterprise to sell stolen material.
No, you had stolen material!
Acceptable to a legitimate news organization?
I'm not sure I'm able to answer that question in the abstract.
Yeah, they're trying to make it illegal to have courage and be legitimate.
And so if there are accomplices in purveying stolen information, should we be concerned
like
about
you?
that?
We should be concerned about all the facts surrounding the theft of classified information and its promulgation.
And interesting, over the Munich conference, where we had individuals tell us that, in fact, there are individuals who are saying to be in possession of this information who are eager to sell this information to other news organizations. The possession of your illegally
obtained everyone's data, total crime, North Korea,
exercise on
1984.
That's a question now you're getting from the general to the particular. I don't want to talk about the case in particular because it's an active investigation of ours.
Yeah, why aren't you prosecuting Clapper for lying to you?
Brokering and stolen information?
And saying you don't spy.
We are looking at the totality of the circumstances around the theft and promulgation.
They are encouraging the Congress there. The Congress is encouraging the FBI director to go persecute and arrest members of the press. And let me tell you, if they get Greenwald, they're going to get everybody. They've already tried to arrest Greg Palast for covering toxic waste spills in Louisiana, claiming it violated Homeland Security to cover a power plant. These people are dangerous. I'm going to do some overdrive to go to your phone calls. Don't forget InfoWarsLife.com for the very best supplements out there. All right, let's jam in your calls quickly. I appreciate you holding. Gray Lady, not the old name of the New York Times. Laura, Matthew, we'll get to all of you. Gray Lady, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi, how you doing? Go ahead. Hi, yes, you are.
I'm doing good. I had a few comments to make, and at the end, I wanted to let you know I have a solution how we can take back America. But first, I'd like to comment on the police. A lot of police, they come on and say, oh, we're good cops. You know, I'm a good cop. To me, there is no good cop, and if they're going to allow there to be bad cops. 20 years ago, I stood up to the police. I got shoved all around. Thank God they weren't shooting us then. But I stood up to the police. Top cop in my area was on the force for years and years and years, and he used to confiscate drugs for his own use so he could pick up girls in bars. He was involved in counterfeiting. He was involved in a counterfeiting ring. He was involved in dog fighting. He was involved in all kind of illegal activities. And he tried to stop me from working for a humane officer to confiscate a dog that they had been watching.
No, I know. I mean, it's well known in criminology. The police like to act like it doesn't exist, but Serpico said everyone else in the narcotics department was on the take. And then it came out in court later that was true. Everyone else but him, it's the peer pressure. Even if they're not corrupt, they get forced into turning a blind eye or you get shot in the face. It's either a department's corrupt or it's not corrupt, is what I found. You either get totally corrupt or they're not corrupt at all. I mean, there'll be some corruption, but it's low level. And that's how cultures work. And I hear you and I appreciate your call. Laura in Florida wants to talk about police as well. Go ahead, Laura.
Hi, Alex.
Hey.
The whole lady just said she had the answer. I think I've got the real answer for the whole world. One of the problems, and first, thank you to you and to all the people that the intellects out there trying to get the information out so people can learn. And as you know, there's like bad information out there too. So ultimately, from what I can tell, it comes down to language. David Wynn Miller, he says that he admits there's a corruption. He talks about, making these no contracts and stuff like that. Well, if you apply the same thing to our language and you find that we've missed like 2/3 of it, now we've lost that much.
Oh, yeah, they're destroying the language, just like 1984 talks about with Ingsoc. By the way, just breaking an underground fire at a nuclear storage facility in New Mexico. The AP is reporting no video yet. We'll obviously be covering that on the nightly news tonight at 7 o'clock. Ma'am, I'm going to jump. Thank you so much. There it is, AP. Fire prompts evacuation of nuclear repository. I was just saying those are safer than at the nuclear plants. Emergency crews are battling a fire in a federal government's underground nuclear waste repository in southeastern New Mexico. Officials say a truck hauling salt caught fire about 11 a.m. Wednesday at the waste isolation pilot plant near Carlsbad, New Mexico. According to a press release and a spokesman, the answer to the emergency line, all employees have been evacuated and the radioactive waste has been and none of the radioactive waste has been impacted. You don't know if any of that's true. It's probably true, but might not be. That's the problem. You can't believe known liars. Cardell in Texas. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing, Alex?
Good. Thanks for calling. Got 1 minute. Sorry. Go ahead.
Real quick, I enjoyed the show. I just had a question, though. I'm a truck driver, and I got a message on my DOT box that they usually give us. And they were saying that New York has a I'm going to pull that up. Because New York has a emergency, declared a state of an emergency for all of New York. And I-84 in New York is now closed to all commercial vehicles, passenger vehicles, and
yeah, that's because of the global warming, the incredible cold. Absolutely. So how are you going to get your rig up there? Man, I wish I could hear more. We got to end it here. Call me back tomorrow. I apologize to the callers. God bless you all. Nightly News Tonight, 7.